What's up guys, Bruno Aponte here, back with another tutorial. Today we're going over some more cover arts in Photoshop. If you guys like this video, leave a comment down below, leave suggestions for next week's video. We got some really awesome stuff to show today, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. Let's get started. Alright guys, so I started off by opening up the image from the artist. I dragged that into the canvas. I pre-masked it to save some time and then moved right into doing the background. I did an orange to black gradient and then I moved right into doing the title of the song. I found this Garing personal text. I repositioned it and resized it to where it fit best. Then I duplicated the font. I typed out the artist's name. I resized that. I changed the spacing a bit. And that looked pretty much how I wanted it. So I selected both the fonts. I moved them down and fit them to where they look best together. And then from there, I was able to move on to the image of the artist. I added a gradient to him. I adjusted him to the center of the text and started focusing on making him look a little bit more intentionally lit. So I added an exposure adjustment to the layer and started to dodge in his face, his shirt, and anything else that made him look a bit more dramatic and intentional. And so the iPhone image was starting to come out a bit better. It was looking a bit more professional. So I moved right onto the background. I was going with this nasty black to pink now. I don't know what was wrong with that, but I ended up moving on to stylizing the glasses. So I pen tooled around the frame. This was a terrible idea. It looked trash towards the end. So I ended up just going with the round marquee tool. And then once I made that selection, I painted white into the color fill layer that I had here. It was just like a pink color fill on linear dodge, and that's what gave me this effect that you see on the shades. I created a black color fill. I put that on the back, added a gradient to the pink one on the top, and that gave me that transition that you see on the shades. And I moved on to highlighting some of the accents on cheeks, make it again look a bit more stylized. Once I moved from that, I put on the parental advisory so I can confine what I was working into inside of a certain space. So I dragged that in, I changed it to a smart object. I just brought it down to the corner and started stylizing the artist's name. I changed it to pink, I changed it to white, and then ultimately split it from orange to white since there's two names. That was looking much better. I was happy with the results so far. Looking around, I started just adjusting different blending modes for the parental advisory. I also noticed his shirt was looking like trash, so I wanted to adjust the blending on that as well with the mask. So I just took a soft brush and started tweaking it a bit. This led me into locking in the background. So I settled on realizing, all right, I need a solid pink background. There's going to be a slight gradient from like a lighter pink to a hotter pink at the top. I duplicated the lighter color fill from the bottom and I added some grunge brushing to it with the mask. And then I moved on to doing the same with the text. I just wanted to stylize it some, so I added these paint drips to the text on a separate solid color fill at orange. I did that to all the letters. And then it was time for me to start organizing because I was getting a bit messy. So I labeled everything and started putting everything into groups. That led me into resizing the parental advisory notice. I put that down to 15%. I made a gradient map. It was like a gradient of black to sepia. I changed its layer style to soft light. And I was finally able to move on to the cityscape. I opened that up. I dragged it to the back of all the layers. I changed it to a smart object. I resized it and positioned it to where I felt like it looked best. At that point, I also changed its blending mode onto lighten. I added a mask to the layer. I gave it a gradient from the bottom to the top in black. Then I realized I wanted to make that grunge masked out of the cityscape, so I duplicated it a few times. I went into the channels and I made a levels adjustment to give it some more contrast. At the point where I felt like it had the most contrast, I made a selection. I went back to the rest of my layers. I went onto the mask for the cityscape and I filled it with the selection in black. At that point, I deleted all the rest of the duplicates that I had made of the grunge. I took the cityscape layer and I changed its blending mode to overlay. I made one final adjustment layer. This was going to be the nail in the coffin for me. So I took the brush tool and I made a scattered brush. You can see the settings for that above. I tried to make it as random as I could. I only had two intentional brushes, which was on the right shoulder and on the glasses. The rest were as random as it could be. I was wrapping things up at this point, so I just added a camera raw filter. I merged all into a new layer. I gave it a vignette, you know, tweaked that around a bit. I gave it some clarity, some contrast, vibrance, and saturation. I gave it an S curve, and I was happy with that. So I lowered the opacity to about 50%. I tweaked the dots a bit just to make it like finessed, and that's it. This is what it turned out to be.
Alright guys, thanks for watching this week's video. Leave a comment down below, like, share, and subscribe. And also keep sending me work, tag me in the stuff that you guys are creating. Hopefully you guys made some awesome stuff out of this. And I'll catch you guys in the next week's video. Peace.